All right, everybody. I'm excited. We got Dave Sanderson here today. He's the top sales producer for over 30 plus years and also a survivor of the plane crash that you might have heard of, known as the Miracle on the Hudson. And so thank you so much for being here, Dave. I really appreciate it.
Nate, thank you for having me. Excited to be with you today.
Yeah, so we were just talking, and we have some acquaintances, Joe and Allison Williams, who were good friends of mine that just recently over the last few year that I've been working with closely on speaking, and they've been coaches of mine, but they put me in touch with Dave here, and as well as we have a mastermind tomorrow, and Dave Albin, who is another connection through Joe and Allison, and they all worked with Tony Robbins for quite some time. But we're doing a fire walk tomorrow for that, so we're excited. But yes, thank you for being here. And the first question I want to ask is one that I ask everyone is,
okay.
And again, going back to Joe was kind of the guy that came up with the title for this, championship leadership. And when he first said it, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sold. I was like, ship. I don't know. But it's grown on me. And so I like to ask, what do you think of what's present to you when you hear championship leadership?
What I really think is leaders who really want to exceed and teach people how to exceed in their life and in their business, be a champion in both areas of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so, well, talk to me a little bit. I definitely want to get into the experience that you had, which I can't imagine. And everybody knows the story that everyone came out all right, but quite an experience with the plane crash in the Hudson. But really, you were the last one off. Is that right?
Last passenger off.
Captain was last person. Yeah, last passenger off, and really took a leadership role there. And you've gone on and you speak quite a bit across country, across the world on that experience and about being a leader, a servant leader. But where did, I don't think that it just happened there, right? Or I would find it hard to believe that your leadership just showed up and broke out of its shell in that moment. What maybe guided you, molded you into the leader that you were to be prepared to be on that day?
Well, that's a good question, Nate, because when I tell people, that's one of the reasons I wrote the book Moments Matter, because what I realized after sort of analyzing what happened, is all those moments in my life really led up to that significant moment. And so it wasn't one big bang, I was a leader in one moment and not the next moment. But I think it started out, when I was young, and I had those experiences and those moments that, that you're given that opportunity to either step up and lead and learn how to do it, or most importantly, be around people who have done it and walk their talk. And that's what happened to me. So if I look back on my experiences, I think it started way back when I was in elementary school. But then if I look through my career, whether it was in high school and I took on a leadership position and started a key club in high school, and I was a captain of the football team and all that happy stuff. That's not a real leader, though. I mean, a lot of that is by popular demand, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm very candid.
Yeah.
So I really think it started for me when I got my first job. And my first job was managing a restaurant. I knew nothing about restaurants, but my dad told me, one thing my dad taught me about leadership is when you say something, you do it.
Yeah.
And he told me once I graduated from college, I had 30 days to get out of the house. And my dad, I love my dad. One of the things my dad, I respect him for, is when he said something, he meant it.
Yeah.
So we were coming on 30 days. I didn't have a job.
Uh-huh.
So he went out on a connection he made and introduced me to a guy who was a district manager at a Howard Johnson restaurant.
Okay.
He says, you go talk to this guy, you're going to get a job, you get out of the house. Which is exactly what happened. And I got out of the house and, I started my restaurant career, but I really wasn't passionate about it. But I was a leader, but I was more of a manager, right?
Uh-huh.
But what happened is about 6 months into that, so there was a gentleman that was coming into my restaurant down in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live right now. And he was an older gentleman. And he would come in every day to get his ice cream and, coffee and just want to talk. And the guy would walk in, he wore a flannel shirt, drove a pickup truck. So the preconceived idea, Nate, was the guy's just a good old boy, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I found out about my guy Bill was he owned 80 movie theaters in North and South Carolina. He was a multimillionaire, and they called him the Sam Walton of Charlotte. So he was the guy that you never knew had the money.
Yeah.
But he took me under his wing for 13 years.
That's incredible.
He mentored me, and what he did for me, he taught me so much. But what I found out the last time I saw him alive was actually May 5th, 1997, before he passed away.
Okay.
And he gave me his notes, and these were the notes that his mentor gave him in 1929.
Wow.
These are 12 business skills for business success. He were written back in 1929 that he did. Is how to be a leader in business and how to really start your business and be a leader. And he was teaching me this through the 13 years. And I didn't really put that together until he gave me these notes, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at them and it's like, wow, this is like gold. But as the idiot that I am, I put them in my journal and then look at them until last summer.
No way.
So I learned these things. So I think I said all these moments came together. I learned these things. So when 2009 came, it was just a culmination of all these things I learned, because after Bill passed away, I was on Tony Robbins' security team. And that's when Tony asked me to be his assistant head of security. And then a couple of years later, head of security. And all of a sudden I had another mentor called Tony Robbins teaching me the leadership skills, how to lead. And one of the things I'll end up with this, one of the things I got to do, I had a lot of things I got to do with Tony and learn so many and meet so many people. But one of those people were General Norman Schwarzkopf. I had the opportunity to escort him one day when we were in Kona, Hawaii. And if you've ever been around a 4-star general, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
And you think you know your stuff, you don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
But he told me something then, and it stuck with me. And I think that's what helped me that day on the Hudson. He said, when given the opportunity to lead, lead.
Yeah.
And I remember that from 1999. And I think that's what happened on January 15, 2009. I had the opportunity to lead, and I stepped up and led, and it's taken me a different direction.
That's incredible. It's, it's amazing how God works sometimes and life works to be in the path of some incredible people in your time, like the Sam Walton of, what'd you say, South Carolina?
No, Sam Walton of Charlotte, they call him.
Charlotte. Yeah. And as well as Tony Robbins. And then, through that, right, you get this opportunity to meet General Schwarzkopf. It's awesome how that path and sometimes it prepares you for things you don't know or you can't see until a lot of times they happen, right? And I think that's kind of what you were saying.
It's exactly right. That's why I named the book Moments Matter, because all these moments in our life that you don't think mean anything are there for a reason, right? Yeah. And you just may discount them at that moment, but all of a sudden, 15, 20, 30 years later, you may need to call on that.
Yeah.
And you need to, on that one thing you did. And I tell people through my story of what happened. And when I teach and mentor people, I tell them certain things, these moments during that day on the 15th, that all of a sudden I look back when I was in Boy Scouts or something that happened, it allowed me to be able to get certainty to do it. And that's what my whole book is sort of my message is right now.
Well, talk to me if you a little bit. Maybe could you share that experience and what that was like, and maybe some ways that you've seen that these moments that you've had in your life came through, from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah. So here's a short story. Then I'll start to talk about these moments.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to be on the plane. I was scheduled to be on a 5 o'clock flight. I had a first class seat at 5 o'clock.
No way.
Gave it up to go home early because I wanted to get home early. I've been traveling the whole week.
Yeah.
I have 4 kids, right? And so I had a lot of gratitude to get on the plane, but I wasn't supposed to be on the plane.
Wow.
Nothing extraordinary until about 60 seconds we took off. And I heard the explosion, and it was a loud explosion. I've never heard anything on a plane like that before. I fly so often. Everything's routine. I know everything.
Right.
And that's one of the things I tell people. You do not know everything.
Yeah.
That's why you have to pay attention, right? I talk about awareness a lot. You have to be aware at all times, right? And I learned that skill from being with Tony because I had to be aware around him. I had to be able to see 2 steps ahead of where he was going.
Yeah.
So awareness was a key thing. So that's one of the things early. But, after I heard the explosion, of course, we know how the story, he lost both engines at the same time. So no power. We're headed straight for the George Washington Bridge, right? He clears the bridge by about 400 feet. Amazing, because when I looked out the window, I was at seat 15A. I saw people looking up from their cars. So that's how close we were. You could see people.
Holy cows. Wow.
And you're heading straight down. And so that last moment, you're not coming back, right? This is it. Because one thing you learn on a plane, you have no control.
Yeah.
The only thing you control is your mind.
Yeah.
And one of the great lessons out of that, and one of the things that I learned and I implemented that day, and other people did too, is no one lost their heads.
That's incredible.
And I think if somebody, even if one person would have lost it, freaked out, screamed, yelled, whatever, and all of a sudden it ramps up, and all of a sudden you got chaos.
Yeah.
Where no one lost their head. So one of the moments is I learned through my experiences of whether it's business or sports, when all stuff's hitting the fan, you gotta keep your composure. So that's another one of those moments that I learned. And the other one of the other moments is, all the people on that plane were there for a reason and a purpose. 90% of those people, at least, were business people.
Mm-hmm.
So the variables on that plane, you had one family and one older lady.
Wow.
So the people who are business people usually can handle business if they take care of their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have to help. So the variables were down. Another great lesson from that day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So control the controllables, right? You can control this.
Yeah.
So, but then you get down, you survive the plane crash. Yay. The water's coming in the plane so fast.
Yeah.
It's coming so quickly. You got to get out.
Yeah.
And so, my game plan was get to the aisle, get up and get out. And, I was everything was moving fast. Okay. I don't say people were orderly. I use the term controlled chaos.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, people were moving fast, but they weren't out of order.
Yeah.
When I got to the aisle, Nate, all of a sudden I heard my mom talk to me. My mom had passed away in 1997, but what I heard in the back of my head was, if you do the right thing, God will take care of you.
Wow.
And, I thought about that a few years ago. My mother didn't say do the right thing. My mother said, if you do the right thing. Because one of the things my mother did really well and taught me, and taught, I think, all of my sister and brother and me, which I don't do as well as my mother, and I think a lot of the parents I know don't do as well as our parents. Parents back when I grew up made you make decisions. And they made you make decisions, and you had consequences for your decisions.
That's right.
Positive or negative. Nowadays, parents like me will make the decision, just get it done, because we don't want to deal with a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the great things is my mom said, if you do the right thing, she made me make the decision. And either decision was going to be right. I could either leave or go to the back of the plane and help people. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Because at that point, my thought was, I'm alive. Let's see what's going on. So I climbed to the back of the plane, got behind everybody else. And it was about chest level deep water then. There's 36-degree water chest level.
Freezing.
And it's dark because the plane is at an angle. If you saw the plane, the back of the plane's underwater, the front of the plane's sticking out of the water.
Yeah.
So you're basically underwater.
Wow.
You're making your way out. Look first thing on the right. I see the light. I'm out of here. Get there. No room on the wing of the boat for me because there's nobody. That's all taken up.
Yeah.
But then another part of leadership, and when we talk about leadership, this is where leadership started kicking in, I think, for me and other people. It's because did you see the movie Sully?
Yes.
If you saw the movie Sully, it verified this, it validated this, is all the crew went out to the left side of the plane.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went out the right side of the plane. There was no crew on the right side of the plane. So there's nobody there with, this is how you do it. Leaders had to step up.
Yeah.
And one thing you learn about leadership, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything about the product.
Yeah.
But if you can direct people, right?
Yeah.
And give clear instructions, and the most important thing, check your ego at the door. Because one thing you learn, in fact, I just had this discussion this morning. There was a CEO of a company. This guy knew who I was talking to here in Charlotte, who was on the plane. I said, one thing you learn on a plane, I don't care if you're Bill Gates or me or you, when you're going to a plane crash, we're all the same.
Yeah, exactly.
No one cares if you're a billionaire, right? No one cares.
Yeah.
But if you can lead, people will follow, right? And you can clear directions. So leadership stepped up. So that's really what happened. And I think that happened in a lot of different places, but everybody on that plane was put in a certain seat for a reason. And I think that's another part of things that I talk about is because, it talks about business. You want the right people in the right seats on the plane for your business.
Yeah, right.
If you have somebody in the right seat, all stuff can break loose. That day, everybody was exactly where they were supposed to be, because it would have turned out a whole different situation if you would have certain people who or maybe you had somebody on the door who was older who couldn't lift 42 pounds to get that door out. Fortunately, we had two guys on those doors who were younger guys who could lift the doors and get them out.
Yeah.
Things like that. So another part of business lessons and leadership is getting the right people in the right seats on the plane.
Yeah.
And that's a part of leadership. That's just a skill. That came together that day. So that's about a 4-minute background of what really happened and some of those moments and how leaders stepped up. So now let me share you one story about one thing, how a moment in the past kicked in. So as I mentioned, I was hanging out the right side of the plane because I couldn't get out. I was waist deep in 36-degree water, but I felt the plane shift. And what I found out later is there was a tugboat on the rescue that backed out but hit the front of the plane.
Oh, really?
Now, a tugboat's a big boat.
Yeah.
It hit the front of the plane, it just shook the plane. It didn't do it, but didn't damage it, but it shook it. Then water starts sloshing up my back. And I'm like, this thing's going down, man. I got to get out of here. I stopped to thank my mom and dad because if they hadn't given me swimming lessons, I may never get off that plane.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about that moment even further. I said, it reminded me of a moment when I was 12 years old. I said, maybe that moment. And I said, that was when I was in Boy Scouts. And I was going for this thing called the Order of the Arrow Award. It's a camping and orienteering award. It's like the elite campers and orienteering, right?
Okay.
It's where your dad drops you off when you're 12 years old. So I'll see you in 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of guys you don't know, and you're like, what are we going to do now? And it's like Survivor on steroids, right? I mean, activity. You got 2 days to do all this stuff, and they give you a piece of wood you got to whittle while you're doing it. It's intense, right? Wow. But part of the activities was we got to a river, and we had to get across a river to get to the next activity. And I tell people, yes, you could walk down the bank. There was a bridge, but we're 12 years old. We jumped in and started swimming across the river because we had more time to do it that way, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I thought, was that the moment when I was 12 that gave me the certainty to do what I was going to do? Because I think that moment really triggered us that I know I can swim. I've been in a river. I've swam before.
Yeah.
I jumped in and swam to get away from the plane before it sank.
Yeah.
So all these little moments, I tell people, all these moments in our life are there, right?
Yes.
You got to use them. You got to be aware to kick it in when you need to kick it in.
Yeah, I think that's it's definitely powerful to take all of these moments and lessons in your life, these experiences, and again, sometimes you discredit them, or you just think that it's just something that happens in life, and you don't think much of it until later on when you have to call upon it, and you realize that, man, there was a greater plan in place, or that there was a reason that happened to you when it did, to help maybe prepare you for those significant events down the road in the future. What I like to ask a lot, most of us have a moment or moments in our life where really it's these significant events that, had you gone left instead of right, you could very well be in a very different place in your life, meaning championship level leaders are willing to do sometimes the unpopular or make the unpopular decision. And that's what makes them championship level leaders. They're willing to go against the grain, or they have this vision that's greater than others, but not only the vision, but the courage to actually take the action and go a different direction than the masses. And so is there a moment that really sticks out to you? And maybe it's even prepared you for that moment on the Hudson, where you could have very easily went left like everyone else, almost an easy decision that would have really significantly changed your path or your trajectory in life.
Yeah, I think there were a few, but as you were saying, I was thinking about a moment. This is back in 1995.
Yeah.
And I was working for this company, and I made a decision. And here's the short background. I was a top producer. I was the number one sales guy that year.
Yeah.
And my regional manager got transferred to California. So a new manager came in.
Okay.
And I was the top guy, and I've been there for 7 or 8 years, and, pretty cocky.
Yeah.
I was the top guy, right? But we were having this sales kickoff meeting and down in Callaway Gardens, Georgia. And this new guy comes in. He's from Canada. He seemed pretty cocky too, right? But most salespeople have a little arrogance.
Yeah, right.
But he had to present me with a check for $66,000 for commission check.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I knew I was getting it, so I couldn't wait to get it.
Yeah.
He's presenting this to me, Nate. He says, "You'll never make this much again."
Oh wow.
He was serious.
Yeah.
And I looked at him. I'm like, "Why?" He says, "You will never make this much again." And I said, "That's the moment." I said, "I've got to get out of here."
Yeah.
Because this guy is either going to get me out, or he is going to make it so difficult to make my income and restrict me. So I would say that was the moment that Kaylee, you know what? I was on top of the mat. Everything was going well, but I made a decision that I had to leave.
Yeah.
And I left, and I went to another organization, and it was a good move. And so if I didn't make that call, I would have never gone to the organization I did and grown the way I did, you know? And then if I hadn't made that call, I may not have been, you know, going to these Tony Robbins events and all of a sudden had that relationship. That call changed everything. Yeah. And just because that guy was a jerk, right? And he was being that way, whether I'm sure he disliked me. But I think that call changed my whole direction of my business, which opened up so many other avenues for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there are many people that I think still in that moment, they wouldn't have made the drastic decision to, you know, just have the foresight to be like, it's time to go now. They probably would have tested it out to see if he was really serious.
Like, I tried. I did. I have to admit, I did that for a little while, right? Yeah. And I finally got to the point, this guy's making my life hell, right? Yeah. And he's doing it on purpose, right? Yeah. And no one's going to help me in HR, because back then HR wasn't as HR is now.
Yeah, right.
Right? Yeah. You're there to protect the company, not you.
Yeah.
So I think but I did test it probably like 3 months, 4 months. Yeah. I got the heck out, man. You know? Yeah,
good for you. Yeah,
changed the whole direction of my life.
Yeah. Well, talk to me, because I know you've taken this experience that you had and all the other experiences that you've had leading into that. And I know that you speak quite a bit and impact, spread the message. You've taken what you experienced, which I'm sure was a very almost, I don't know if it was traumatic for you or not, but I mean, I would think that it had to be a little bit of that and to go through that, to experience that, and maybe even to get on a plane again. Right. Mm-hmm. But how have you taken it and how has that helped you to really impact others, companies, people, you know, through your speaking and through taking something like that and turning it into just such an incredible positive?
This wasn't my plan. Yeah. My plan was go back to my company, do my thing right. I was making a ton of money, man.
Yeah.
A ton of it, right?
Yeah.
And I was pretty good. But the Sunday after the plane crash, something happened. It changed that. And the short story is I was the first time I spoke. Didn't know what I was going to say. I was just winging it, right?
Right.
And but there was a lady there, probably 89 years old, who came up to me after I got done speaking and grabbed me. I mean, you got to remember, this is a week after a plane crash.
Yeah.
I'm already a little dicey.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was beat up. My forearms are black and blue.
I believe it. Yeah.
All the beat up against the plane and stuff. So it hurt when she grabbed me, but she looked me in the eye and said, I was questioning if there's a God, and I don't believe in miracles, but you are physical evidence that there's a God and he does miracles.
Wow.
And she said, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the moment I realized I had impacted somebody's life.
Yeah.
You know, wherever she goes, wherever she is, wherever she's going to go, whatever that is, now believes there's a God because I'm physical evidence and God put me in front of that.
Yeah.
That's the moment I knew that I had impacted somebody and I had to take a different direction. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But like Tony Robbins teaches all of us, you don't know how to do how. You got to do it why, right? You got to do it right. Just do it, and you'll figure out the how. And that's what happened.
Well, that's that's an incredible story as well. And so what did you do? Because there's a lot. You know, the championship level leader again they're going to do it and they're going to figure it out.
Right.
Too many. They stay stuck they want to wait till everything's perfect before they would make some kind of a decision like that in their life. Yeah. So what did you do? Well,
I actually went back to work for 4 more years because I was still a top producer.
Yeah.
But I started speaking, right? And I started. Yeah. And one of the things I learned, I love personal development. And I invest in myself. I have what I call my own personal development. I invest myself every year, so much money.
Yep.
And I got tapes years ago from Zig Ziglar. And when I started listening to some of the Zig Ziglar stuff, how he became who Zig Ziglar was is his first 75 to 100 talks, he didn't take a dime for it.
Yeah.
He just perfected his talk, right?
Yeah.
And so then I talked to Tony. And Tony says, never take a note on stage. It's come from the heart, right?
Yeah.
So you can't have two probably better speaking people out in the world who's spoken, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got elite of the elite telling you this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So I did that. And for 4 years, I basically just perfected it, right? I went out. Mm-hmm. I didn't take much money, right? I was working, but, the 5th anniversary of the plane crash, my wife gave me permission. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but she gave me permission. So the next day I gave my notice. 2 weeks later I was doing it, but I had no health insurance. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I have to figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So how do people figure it out? You model people who've done it.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And Tony's taught me that.
Yeah.
So I went out and modeled people, right, who have done it. I know Joe Williams. You know, I've known Joe Williams for 20-some years.
Right.
You call these people. How do you do something like this?
Yeah.
Right. And you take it all in. Say, okay, I'll figure it out, and just start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, right? And that's what happened. But you start modeling people, because success leaves clues.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, like you said, you had some incredible models in your life. But you don't have to have that relationship with Tony to model him either, right? Anyone can model him. There's a plethora of information out there for you to find on these wonderful speakers, or whatever industry or profession it might be, or whatever person it might be that you're trying to model after. Like, you don't have to know them personally to be able to do that.
No, I use virtual references. I've got so many virtual references, right? Because you can tap into books, you can tap into online, you can tap in. Some people, you just pick up the phone and someone may answer the phone.
Right.
You never know.
Absolutely.
That happened to me a couple of times. I just pick up the phone. So I'm with somebody like, whoa, I wouldn't expect you to answer the phone, right? Now I got to come up with something, right? Yeah. So virtual references. You don't have to have that person in your life. You can go to seminars, right? You go to mastermind groups like we talked about.
Yeah.
I still work with a mastermind group, right? I work with top people who can always give me feedback, that I need to get feedback.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Well, that's incredible. I appreciate you sharing your story. I'd like to wrap it up here, and just with one final piece, and then just a little bit of time to find out more about you and how we can follow you. But really, I'd just love to hear, what are one or two things that you could leave with the audience? I think our audience is a lot of entrepreneurs, people that want to become a little bit better, and also obviously they want to be championship level leader. Like, what are one or two things that you could leave with them to help them do that?
Yeah, one thing, and I actually just did a little video of this yesterday for my group, because one of the things I get asked about is, you've been around a lot of great leaders, you met a lot of people. What have you gleaned? What have you really learned from them that you can really impact that? So I've been sharing that information. And one I shared recently was, I was actually getting ready to go on stage. And I go out and get myself prepared before I'm going around in front of 500 people, right?
Yeah.
And I gave this story. I said, this young lady came out and interrupted me. Just started, hey, I'd like to meet you, right? How do you do this? I'm sitting here focused, right? And so I told her, I said, have you ever heard of HCA? And she said, no. I said, it's called highly concentrated attention. I said, this is what the great leaders do. This is how they get ready to rock and roll, whether they're going on stage or get things done. I said, have you ever seen that movie? I used to. I said, I am not your guru.
Yeah.
She said, no. I said, go watch the movie, because what you'll see in that movie is what I experienced for 15 years. How does a master put himself in HCA to deliver value? I said, go watch that and you'll learn. And so I was trying to tell her, this is what I'm doing now. I'm going into HCA mode, right? Yeah. Highly focused, highly concentrated attention mode. And that's one of the great things I've learned from being around all these leaders. They know how to go to HCA immediately.
Yeah.
So they can block it out and get an outcome. That's number one. And I would always say, and the other thing that I would leave for leadership is, people of value are value people. And people say, what does that mean? I said, well, one thing I learned that day on the Hudson River, I knew it, but sort of came together for me is, people with character, right? People who value people, right? They value themselves, but that's why they can value other people. And then I use this circumstance. I say, you don't have to be a Christian, but look at Jesus Christ. Jesus as a human. What did Jesus value most in this world? People. Yeah. He didn't hang out with the cool kids.
Right.
Jesus hung out with some folks that probably needed some help, but he valued people. So he had high character. People of value people. I said, so always lead with your character. Don't deviate from your character. That's what great leaders do and champion leaders do. And that's what even Schwarzkopf said. I heard him talk once. He always focused on, yes, he had a mission, but it had to live within his character. If he didn't live with his character, the decision wasn't going forward. Yeah. So there's probably two things I leave behind for people who want to be leaders: highly concentrated attention, and also people of value people.
I love that. Thank you so much. That's powerful, and that's a great way to finish it up. So, yeah, I really appreciate your time here. But can you, right before we do wrap this up and close out, how can the listeners find out more about you and what you're doing? And you mentioned your book, and obviously we're going to add this all to the show notes as well, so that they have links to that. But yeah, let us know how we can get a hold of you.
Well, thank you. I pretty much do all my things through LinkedIn now. It's a great tool. So if you go to David Sanderson LinkedIn, that's where I get shared new content every day. So if you want free content, I love to give out free content of leadership and these different things that I've learned through all my interactions with all these great people. Yeah. Every day, just check out LinkedIn and become my friend. But you go to my website at davesandersonspeaks.com, and you'll learn a lot about what I'm doing, the places I'm going. If I'm ever in your area, check me out. I would love to let me know. But what I'm really focused on now is growing my private exclusive group. And the reason why is what I found is, we thought it's not really a mastermind, but it's a way that I can give exclusive sort of content that I've been able to get from these people who would charge you, $10,000 for a day. Yeah. And I now give to this private group. But in addition, I now also expose and bring my mentors in to my group. So I pay people like Dominique Wilkins from the Atlanta Hawks, right? He's in my group. Steve Dendovik, who's a Chief Innovation Officer at Chick-fil-A. Don Barton, the Entrepreneur of the Year in Atlanta. People like that, and people like a Tony Robbins kind of person that I can bring in. So they get to meet people that they would never have the opportunity to meet, right? Yeah. And so I can expose them to that, including all the things I have. So that group's called Impact. You go to my website and check that out. And it's only for this, what I'll do for you is normally $97 a month. If someone says they've heard it on your show, Nate, we'll do it for $47 a month. And I'll throw in my course, Cultivating Personal Leadership, and my book for free if they want it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
I would love to be able to do that for your folks.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much. Yeah, have a great day.
Have a great day.